The Almost Perfect Podcast.
Welcome to the Almost Perfect Podcast, a celebration of fuck-ups, failures, and falling flat on your face. This is a podcast that believes you can learn from experience, but that experience doesn't have to be your own. Hi, I'm Bob Perfect, and I'm a functional fuck-up. Let's learn from somebody else's mistakes. And today we're learning from two people. Yeah, we are learning from Pinchuck, and we are learning from Ryan Harduth. Now, they're two different people, like, I know, obviously, but they do very different things, but they're both related to comedy, and we got together because, like, I was meant to do them separately, but the way things worked, there was, like, noise at Ryan's place, and we had breakfast, and time just kind of got away from us, and then we didn't have time, and we couldn't do it at his place because there was noise, so we went somewhere that is even noisier. As you're gonna hear in this podcast, there's some ambient noise, and it's kind of the reason why I've been holding onto this for a while. I've been trying to figure out ways to use the noise reduction tool, but like that doesn't work with this like kind of noise. So I figured out some other stuff that helps reduce it a little bit. But yeah, you're gonna hear some ambient noise in the background of this podcast. Anyway, I need to introduce my guests. Ryan Harduth is a comedy uncle, as he describes himself. He is someone who is in the background of a lot of important stuff in South African comedy. He's like one of the people who's been very instrumental in recording a lot of stand-up specials in South Africa and getting them on Showmax. And he's done a lot of other things throughout the years. Like, he used to have multiple gigs running back in the day. He's like tour managed quite a lot of different comedians, including Trevor Noah, but many others as well. And he's just someone who's housed a lot of comedians and just been there for a lot of different comedians in South Africa. He's got a lot of love for the industry and for the art, and we speak about it. And then Kate is obviously a comedian. Well, not that obviously, but you've probably heard of her, as she's been on Showmax 3 times, and she's only been doing comedy for 3 years, so fuck her. I hate her, because that is just unreal, but she's also incredibly funny, and someone who, yeah, like, I really enjoy her comedy. It's quite cerebral, it's quite unique and different in this environment, which is really, really funny. And we get to know each other in this podcast. And I've just in general enjoyed hanging out with Kate. She's got a lot of quick quips, and I like her view of the world. So this is a fun chat over waffles and churros at a country club in Joburg. And it's it's an interesting one. Like, we chat about ADD, we chat about so many different things, like the difference between acting and comedy, and just a myriad of topics. You'll see. You will get into it just now. But yeah, it's been, like, it was cool listening back to this one because it's been in the holster, and like I did try work on it a little while ago because of the sound and stuff. And then I was like, maybe I'll put it out on Patreon, and then I was just like, fuck it, let's just do it. Let's just try and figure out how to make it sound okay. And I think it sounds okay. Like, I managed to hear the whole conversation listening through, like, a couple times. I've managed to get, like, the worst sounds, I think, down. So yeah, hopefully it works for you. If not, I'm definitely going to get Ryan and Kate on again individually sometime. Like I said, it just didn't quite work out that we were able to do them separately. So we chatted together, and it made for an interesting dynamic, and it made for a really cool chat. I'm definitely missing Joburg though after listening to it. I had such a cool time. I really enjoyed, like, a lot of the people up there, and I've just been feeling, I don't know, like, out of place in Durban again, and that sucks. But it's cool to, yeah, look at how other people are doing things. Especially, like, Kate's, moved back to Cape Town, as she mentioned in this podcast. She's taken up a job and stuff because, the Joburg dream didn't necessarily work out as well as she would have hoped. Like, she's still obviously doing well in comedy and everything, but needs to make a bit more cash than was available to her in Joburg. So she's back in CT now. She's a teacher. She's still doing comedy, still acting, still writing. So it was cool to see from that perspective, and it was also cool to see things from Ryan's perspective. He's done a lot of different things, like myself, like I've done a ton of different things, and it's been interesting because I've been thinking about stuff because it was my birthday last week. Yay! As you probably know if you were on the internet and you know me, because I had a party and it was fun. People dressed up. They got we cross-dressed. It was cool and it was spacey vibes because the vibe was across dressed the universe to intergalactic boogaloo, and it was dope. Like, you know, girls dressed as boys, boys dressed as girls. It was glitter. There were wigs. There was yeah, there was a lot of different vibes. There was a lot of dope music. Some really good musicians played. Some of whom I've interviewed on here. Some of whom I'm going to still interview on here. So yeah, that was really cool. But obviously, I've been a little bit introspective over the last little while. Like, it's not just over my birthday. Just in general, I've been thinking about where I'm at and what I'm doing, and yeah, it's cool to see someone like Ryan and, you know, be a bit inspired by everything he's managed to achieve. So he's done it in a pretty cool way. So that's yeah, that's kind of where I'm at the moment. Like, things are interesting, I guess, because I'm doing some really cool stuff, but like I've been so much in my own head that like I haven't been able to see it. Like, I haven't been able to really just enjoy the fact that like yeah, like I get to do this thing all the time, that I get to write for Bubblegum Club all the time, like because I had that job thing. I don't know if you guys know. I applied for a job, I got the job, and then the job was like, "Yo, we don't actually need you," and like that fucked with me quite a bit, and I like have been feeling some type of way about it for a little while. But yeah, like this was a cool chat to listen back to because it helped get my head a little bit straighter, I guess, and also just helped me like remember that like yeah, this thing is hard and long and difficult and different for everyone. So yeah, you get me, you get what I'm saying, right? I hope that makes a bit of sense. I feel like it was a little rambly, but yeah, man. Birthday vibes are really, really cool. And I'm working on some cool shit at the moment. Like, I haven't really got to work on it enough yet for it to be affecting me in a way that, like, is probably why I'm like, oh, you know, my life's not good enough at the moment. I'm not achieving my dreams. When, if you read the newsletter that I put out with this podcast, well, not with this podcast, but like I put it out there through this podcast channels. It's called the Almost Perfect Newsletter. I wrote a whole long little thing on a whole long little thing. Just contradict yourself there, why don't you? No, but I wrote this little diatribe on South Park, and at the end, I let people know that I've actually been hired to write on a cartoon, which is fucking awesome. Like, that is just so rad. The characters are cool, the concept's really cool, and you know, I've got a lot of creative freedom with it, so I get to introduce a lot of things to the show. We've come up with some really, really fun things already, but haven't really started writing on it. We've just been doing some of the basic stuff. So I'm very keen for that. That's something that's really, really interesting. But I just want to be performing comedy, and like I feel on the outskirts of Durban comedy at the moment, and that sucks, but it's okay. There's other places to do comedy, and I can also put on my own shows, which is something I'm looking to do at the moment. I'm just trying to figure out the right venue and format and vibe. But yeah, I've been missing being on stage. Like, I've been writing jokes. I've got like a lot that's in the canister at the moment. I've still got a whole one-man show that I've only done once. I've really like just been like, yeah, haven't been feeling it here in Durban, but I'm gonna see what I can do. I'm gonna put on some shows, see if some people come and watch me tell some jokes, myself and some friends, and take it from there. If no one comes, I'm just gonna, you know, go do comedy elsewhere, because you can always do that. Which is kind of dope about things. If you're not getting support at home, then just change your home, I guess. I mean, it's what works for some people, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you leave your hometown and you realize, fuck it, actually everything I need is back where I started. And we chat a little bit about that in this conversation with Kate and Ryan. I think that's everything I wanted to say. Please go subscribe to the newsletter. There are links to it everywhere where there should be links to this. So yeah, go check that out. I'm writing like just about random things every week or two, maybe, probably. just as often as I think of stuff that I want to get off my chest. This time was about South Park, because there was just a bunch of Twitter discussion about how it's ruined, the planet, and like it's why people are so nihilistic and apathetic and blah blah blah. And so I wrote a little rebuttal that you can go read on the internet, wherever you can find this podcast. Go subscribe. I'm going to be doing lots of different things about lots of different things. I'm going to be writing quite a bit there, so go check that out. Also, subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you're listening to it on. If this is your first time especially, that would be a good idea. If it's your second time or third time, why have you not subscribed yet? Why you just keep clicking the link, and you could just go, hey, put this in my app, and then I'd get it before everyone else all the time. That would be good. So do that. Subscribe on whatever platform you're on. We're on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, etc. And what else? Oh yeah, Patreon, patreon.com/almostperfect. That's where you can contribute to the podcast. You can help make it a little bit better, saving a bit of money to get another mic, so that, because you get dynamic microphones and you get condenser microphones, and I've got like one of each essentially, and I need to have two of the one, and I can't remember the difference between the two right now, so I feel like a bit of an idiot there for bringing it up, but I'm not going to edit this out because it is the Almost Perfect podcast. But either way, I need to get another microphone like the one I'm talking into you to. I used to have one, it broke, and so yeah, patreon.com is where we're raising funds for that essentially. It's also just a way you can get extra access to the podcast, where you can suggest guests. Like there's a few cool suggestions that people put out last time, and you can also ask questions. You ask people there to ask questions of the guests, and yeah, that's a cool way to be a part of the podcast. I'm trying to think of other benefits for that. I want to give more to the listeners. Like it's been really cool to have people, people have been emailing like back to the newsletters, and that's been really, really cool. And just in general, like been really dope about the podcast. People have been really kind and cool. So I want to, especially to the people who chuck in a little money into the hat, each month, give their tithes, I guess, to the podcast. Like I want to do a bit more, so I'm trying to think of cool ways. You can also just let me know if you have any ideas of like what you would want out of different Patreon tiers and stuff. I'd totally be into that. almostperfectpod@gmail.com is how you can get in touch with me easily. Please, like DMs on the internet is like a way, but I also don't always read those because we get a lot of DMs from a lot of different people, and it can be a little overwhelming at times. And when someone emails you, they're professional. They really want something and that they mean business, I guess. So, bit of advice for the youngsters out there. Always try and email someone. Don't just Facebook message them, because they might never ever read that if they get a lot of Facebook messages. Cool. So that's it. That's all the stuff I needed to tell you about this podcast. Here it comes. It's the Almost Perfect podcast with Kate Pinchuck and Ryan Harduth. So, how you living, Kate and Ryan?
I'm living okay.
You're living okay.
Kate got broken up by text today.
Ryan!
Just starting it off like that. I like that.
I did. I actually got broken up by text at like midnight in the queue for the McDonald's drive-thru is when I found out that I'd been broken up with.
So, like, what do you mean you found out?
Well, I saw the text, I looked at my phone, and I was like, oh, fuck.
That is such like a millennial way to get broken up with.
Yeah.
Was it via WhatsApp?
It was via WhatsApp, yes.
Oh, wow.
Via WhatsApp.
And
Voice note or text?
Text.
How do you feel about it?
I think I kind of wanted to break up with this person. We weren't really dating. We'd just seen on a couple dates, but I wasn't actually feeling it that much. So I was like, maybe I'll give him a couple more chances and see, and then dump him. And so I was kind of irritated that he got there first. I was actually quite upset, but I think it was just my ego, not like because I was like, oh, we were meant to be.
Because you were just like,
I
fuck
just
this
hurt my ego, yeah.
Yeah. How you living, Ryan?
I'm good, man. Yeah. Got the flu. Texted me as well.
The flu texted you.
Yeah. I got you, boo. But yeah, I'm good, man. Thanks for having us on your podcast.
Yes,
Of
thank you.
course, this is an interesting one because I was going to do you guys separately, but through our morning, things have become like this. We had a lovely breakfast that Ryan cooked earlier. Do you see yourself almost like as a dad to a lot of the comedians? Because that's kind of the relationship I'm picking up from like the last 2 weeks of me being here. Because I don't know you that well, but I'm seeing how people interact with you and seeing how
Now that
like,
you mentioned it,
buy everyone drinks and coffees.
now that you mentioned it, it is. I've done many things that parents are supposed to be doing for comedians. Provided roofs over heads,
Yeah.
rent money sometimes. No. I think my relationship with comedians is a little bit paternal. Maybe more uncle than parent.
Yeah, I think fun uncle.
Yeah, fun uncle.
Fun uncle, yeah, definitely.
It wasn't always like that. Because I used to be fun, young. Now I've got a salt and pepper beard. So
That gives you a bit more like weight. And, like,
yeah. My
People take it a
beard
bit
gives
more
me some
seriously.
gravitas. But I think, I don't really think about it like that very often, but now that I've heard you say it, it does feel like that. Even the way I feel about lots of the comedians, it is a sort of I'll help you when I can relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, you've
But I don't
experienced
feel.
it, right?
Oh yeah, the first time I came to Joburg, I stayed with Ryan, and I didn't even know him that well.
I don't think we had met properly.
No, but
No.
you had said if you
If
ever
you
come
ever-
to Joburg, you can stay with me, and I'm the kind of person that if you say
take
that
that
with me
up.
Yeah.
once, I'll do it.
Yeah, I had a in my old house. I had a spare room, and it was called the comedy room.
Okay.
And anybody in the comedy industry, even if I didn't know you, if you heard about the room and you asked me to stay there, I'd say fine.
Because usually if someone knows about it, someone else that was cool told them about it.
Yeah, it's like word of mouth. And I've had like there's two young ladies from America who were making a documentary about stand-up comedy in South Africa.
Oh yeah.
Like randomly phone me and like interview me over the phone, and then were asking about accommodation. I was like, well, there's the comedy room. They're like, okay, cool. How much is that? I was like, no, just come. And they stayed for a while,
Yeah.
a week and a half or something.
I got kicked out because of it.
Yes, you did.
But that's kind of like overseas, they have that a lot with the venues. Like certain venues will have like a comedy house almost.
Yeah.
For people
Oh,
on
really?
tour. Yeah, so like people on tour will stay in the comedy house, and like I was listening to a podcast the other day, they were talking about like, oh, it was Mark Maron, where they were like, like when a comedy house first starts, it's so nice and clean and everything's like, prim and proper. Then over the years, like it just deteriorates
Yeah,
with like the
sure.
different comedians. Because comedians, that's a pretty risky move to like just willingly like openly house like comedians, because we're not the most reliable or what's the word I'm looking for here? Like we don't care as much about other people's shit, essentially.
I haven't had a bad experience
People being respectful.
yet. Yeah. Everybody's been lovely, Also, I think my wife and I are pretty chill people.
Yeah.
So we leave people to do their thing. We're not, we're also hospitable. We love hosting people. We love
Yeah.
cooking for people. So it was nice having people in the house as well. So we used to stay alone in a 3-bedroom house. So
it's
it was
nice to
also
have that company.
dope sometimes just having people around.
What's your affinity towards comedians? Why do you like them so much? Because as a comedian, I don't like most comedians, and you seem to like them more than I do.
I see a lot of myself in comedians. That's how come I'm attracted to comedians.
Okay.
I don't fully subscribe to the whole comedians are broken people thing,
Well, not all of us.
Not
but-
all.
But at least half.
but I do subscribe to there is therapy in comedy,
Yes.
irrespective of whether you're broken or not. And I
Yeah.
believe that's more what throws people to comedy. Sometimes the therapeutic effect of clowning or the putting on a mask on. And I get to put a mask on through other people
Okay.
without having to be too vulnerable. And that's why you'll see me at comedy shows that I have no business being at. Do you know what I mean? None of my comedians are performing. None of my friends are performing.
Yeah.
It's
just
not at a
one of those
venue that I
sets.
own or run. But I just want to watch sets and be with comedy minds.
Aren't you over it though? Like you must have seen thousands of sets at this point.
Yeah, but I'm not over it. If I'm feeling like ill that week or I need a break, I won't go. But most weeks I'm at between 2 and 5 shows every week.
And that's more than like a lot of comedians.
Yeah, it is more than a lot of comedians, but it's like I said, it's a therapy, it's a need, almost in the same way with comedians. They gonna perform whether they die or not, whether they get paid or not.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're gonna go because it's sort of a vocation, and I've found that to be true for me as well.
So what's your relationship with Ryan?
She stayed in my house once.
Once, and then
I don't know. I guess Ryan. I think of Ryan as like kind of a mentor type person, but also like I would, but also a friend. And okay, sorry,
it's fun. It's catching it.
I'm speaking into the microphone. Okay, and I would call Ryan to bail me out if I needed bailing out. I didn't have my Uber wasn't working the other day, and so Ryan Ubered me home.
Wow.
But also, like, Ryan's one of my favorite people to talk to about comedy because he has the best comedy stories, and yeah, he's been there for like a lot of the things that I haven't seen, so it's cool.
What sort of stuff have you learned from Ryan that's actually like been actionable for you?
Oh my god, that's such a hard question to ask me in front of Ryan.
It is, but this is the situation we're in.
I guess I've learned to like take myself more seriously and value what I'm doing a little bit more, and to think about my jokes with depth and focus, and also that like good relationships with people in the industry are so important, and to make it I think not to take myself so seriously also, that it's just comedy and it's not like life or death, even though it is life or death.
It does feel like when you're on
Yes,
stage.
but also to just like have fun with it. I think that's the biggest lesson.
Okay. And do you feel like it would have taken you longer to get there without Ryan's help?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
So are you managing Kate at the moment, or what's the situation with you like in general? Because it seems like, well, what is your role?
I am comedy adjacent.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Like,
Because I don't really have a title.
Yeah, that's what I've tried. That's the thing. I've been trying to figure it out. Because you kind of manage, you kind of help produce stuff. You're a tour manager at times. You do a lot of different things. So
Yeah, I think I've never really wanted to. I've never been one for titles
sure.
or prestige. I don't look for the position that's going to get me most noticed. And I just like to help. It's not completely noble because I earn a living from it. But I do like to help people, not just comedians. I just like to help people in general. It could sound cheesy, but it's the way I was brought up in our house. I'm not exaggerating. I can think of 20 people who stayed with us throughout my childhood. Some people who needed a home, who needed somehow. And my parents' door was always open to people. I don't think I know anybody whose situation is as dire as those people's situations is. So my helping is different. It doesn't have to be your next meal. But I always, also, like I said earlier, my wife and I are very hospitable. We like to host people, and I get that from both my parents. We always had, like I said, bad people in the house. I know once my mom went to Killarney Mall, came back with a mother and a daughter. They stayed with us for 8 months.
Wow. Oh my god.
Yeah, and somebody she recognized from early in her childhood who she didn't really know. She recognized a familiar face, and they started speaking. And, the lady revealed that her husband had just kicked her out, and her daughter from another marriage. And they didn't have anywhere to go, and they just had their bags, and they were just happened to be in a public space.
So that's just why, like, it's always been instilled in you to serve
to
other
be
people.
to be helpful, to be helpful to people, and
I mean, that seems to have worked out pretty well for you. Because
It has.
Because the thing is, like, yes, you help other people, but you also make your money off of, comedy.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, I
and
think-
various other businesses.
I think I've been able to make money from comedy because I'm a helpful person who didn't ask for anything at the beginning,
Yeah.
who was genuinely helping out of wanting somebody else to have a better situation, whatever that situation could be. Because I also lost a lot of money in comedy for years before I ever made money. I worked in call centers while running gigs. Literally
So is that how you started in comedy?
was
Running
running small gigs with my brother. He was a comedian, still is, but he's not active on the scene as much anymore. and we would not be able to have that many open spots because the scene was tiny. There were lots of open spots, so we started running our gigs just so that he could perform. Basically,
That's how a lot of gigs get started.
Yeah,
so he would
yeah.
have opportunity to perform and not wait like 6 months for an open spot because that was the waiting period for open spots sometimes in Joburg. Yeah.
But it was also there weren't that many gigs.
There were 3.
Yeah.
There was 1 weekly and 2 monthly in 2004, 2005 when it started.
That's so crazy.
One weekly and 2 monthly. And so once you did those 3, all the other open spots would have to do it before they come back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you like really destroyed on your first open spot, because you immediately get paid the next week. Not, it's not like that. It wasn't. It wasn't like that. You just killed me.
So that was
It was like a need we started, and then at one point I think it had to be corrected, but it was probably running 6 to 8 rooms a month.
that's quite a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot.
And you were losing money on them.
I would say half of them would break even.
Okay.
A quarter would make some money and a quarter I would make a loss. But overall in the month I would make a loss. Because I'd make a loss on the bigger rooms, which were more expensive. Very few gigs went by when I didn't draw out money from my own account to pay the comedians. Because I didn't make enough from the door. And that's also how my relationship started, because I would only do the behind the scenes stuff. Rabin was always like the face of the shows because he was a comedian and he knew the comedians.
Yeah.
But I would be the doorman, and then I would count up the sales and I would split the money up and I would pay the
So you'll be
comedians.
doing
I would
business
agree a
side
fee to
of
the
it.
comedians, yeah. And comedians would call me Minister of Finance, like early on in my career, and it grew from there. What I realized is that I've sort of been a good joke teller. So I sort of, like I said, I see myself in comedians. So I really love the jokes part of it as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love jokes. I love helping comedians with jokes.
Ryan's the joke whisperer.
That's what people used to call me, the joke whisperer.
I've kind of noticed you've got some jokes in you, and you
Yeah.
crack a lot of them like from time to
Yeah,
time.
comedians-
and they're
comedians-
and they're actually quite funny. Like
Comedians are my audience.
Yeah.
And I don't always look for laughs. Like I want them to go, ah. Then I'm like, yes. If comedians laugh, then I'm like, I wasn't going for laughter.
I love that in my sets. Like I've got about 3 jokes that I guarantee will be like, oh, and I love it. Like that might be.
Really?
I used to like the. Like, and now I just like that, that groan, like in between big laughs and stuff. But I love like just that, like, fuck you, like that like the crowd just going, no, you didn't. But Kate, how did you get involved in comedy?
I did improv comedy at university.
Okay, it's because you're more from an acting background.
I'm from a theatre background. Yeah, I studied drama in university, and I was in an improv comedy troupe there. And I used to MC quite a lot, and I think I was doing stand-up without realizing that I was doing kind of stand-up. And a lot of people were trying to convince me to do stand-up, but I had this thing about like, I'll never do stand-up. I used to think I hated stand-up.
Why?
Like because I'd only ever watched like male comedians talking smack about women.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah,
So I
that's.
was like, well, I hate this genre of entertainment. This is horrible. And only like at university did I start watching stuff I liked.
Sorry guys, dessert just arrived.
Yeah.
In case you're wondering, we're having strawberry and Nutella waffles.
Yeah, I wish like we could show you this because this is not something I can tell you about. It's
It
just
looks amazing.
Strawberry and Nutella waffles with ice cream. We're having churros.
but it just looks better than anything we just described to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not Milky Lane waffles, huh? We're talking about legit shit here.
So
So then a lot of people were trying to get me to do stand-up, and I was like, no. I only realized that being funny was my currency at university.
okay.
It wasn't like I knew that was a thing. I've been told that I was funny before that, but I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't conscious of that being a currency for me. And then my friend did like a stand-up comedy course that another of my friends ran.
A stand-up comedy course.
Well, he ran like a stand-up comedy workshop things for people who want to do their sets, and then had a show for them.
Okay.
Is
And
this
it
a
was
comedian?
At university. Yeah, he was a comedian.
He was.
Yeah.
No longer.
Well, no, he is. He's a comedian.
Okay.
And then one of those friends was like, I want us to do a stand-up show at festival next year. I'm going to book us a show in July. You have 6 months to get a set ready. And so and then I went and watched stand-up for about 2 months and then eventually got on stage.
So you didn't grow up with stand-up? You don't?
No.
Like, you don't have, like, the people you were like, oh my god, I want to be like that person?
I have, like, quite a bad stand-up knowledge, actually. I don't know the canon. I've only learned only when I started doing stand-up, or maybe a year before I started doing stand-up, I started watching stand-up.
But do you think that
I think it was last year that she had watched Cat Williams for the first time at my house.
Totally.
Then I was speaking about a Cat Williams special. It's like, I've never watched Cat. I was like, well, here's the laptop.
Like,
Yeah.
like the deaf bits, like, nah, this shit is called deaf. Like, I remember that from, like, literally, like, primary school.
No, I never used to watch comedy.
That's so crazy. So you were more... Actually, what I want to ask is, do you think that gives you an advantage? Because you don't have, like, the same tropes. You don't have, like, you know, we've grown up watching comedy wanting to be like other comedians.
Yes.
So you don't necessarily have that.
Yeah, that's true. I think it could work two ways. Either it could make me, like, super fucking original because I'm not drawing from too much stuff, or I'm only drawing from stuff recently, or it could make me, like, super hack because I don't know what's hack, you know?
And so you do hack jokes because, like, you don't know that.
But I don't think that's what's happening.
I don't know. Your stuff's not hack from what I've noticed.
I think
And
usually
I'm good
I'm
at picking
told-
up hack.
I'm usually told that it's too alternative more than it's like hack. That's
Eyebrow
usually-
almost.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan.
I enjoy
Yeah.
see, I like that, like, because I've gotten similar comments, like, throughout, like, my career, and that, like, the people always like, no, you got to, like, the frame of reference, you know, the
Yeah.
circles of reference.
Be more relatable.
And it's like, fuck you, like, I just want to tell this joke because I find it funny, like,
Also, I literally can't be what I am not.
exactly.
Physically impossible for me to do that.
Which is a bit weird considering you're an actress.
Well,
Or
okay, I
actor,
can
actor.
be what I'm not, but not in.
But stand up, you're not acting.
Yes,
I think you are.
I'm-
Like, you're acting as yourself, but, like,
but it's very
It's a
different. It's a
heightened
different
version.
feeling. It's a different feeling. For me, my acting brain and my stand-up brain are very separate.
okay. Well, how so?
Thank you, Ryan, for this waffle. When you're a different character, it's like a whole lot of other stuff that you're thinking about, like how you've like spent weeks crafting how they move and how they speak and what their mannerisms are, and all of these things that you craft from like almost outside in.
Sure.
And well, that's how I act. That's how everyone acts. And with stand-up, you're trying to strip away more and more to get to like
The
your
realness.
most authentic self.
Okay, yeah, because that is the thing, like, because in stand-up you do have to think about how you present yourself and everything like that,
Yes.
but it's very much different in that, like, yes, it's a character, but the character is you.
Yes.
And would you, like, as an actor, do you find like that's a bit of a struggle almost, like in terms of like, because at least in acting you get to be somebody else, you know?
Yeah.
It's not a thing of like, hey everyone, this is who I am. And because also as an actor you're aware of how those things are being presented.
Yes.
So does that come in your comedy? Like you're very aware of how you're being presented or how you're presenting yourself?
I think a little bit. I've tried to just treat comedy as a completely different medium.
Okay.
I think comedy is a lot, for me it's a lot more exposing than acting is. I feel
Yeah.
a lot more vulnerable doing comedy. I feel like the risk is a lot higher for me. The stakes are higher, and I can get hurt more
Yes. Because
than
it's
acting.
From the outside, from an off-stage perspective, I get to hang out with comedians, obviously on stage because I'm at the gigs,
yeah.
and off stage can speak to them quite deeply. But you know what I mean? It's not surface level conversations. And what I find is the best comedians, when I say best, it's completely biased in my opinion,
Yeah.
are the ones who our deep conversations, like their inner voice, is closest to what is the persona on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because it's your inner voice that's funny. You're not funny. You know what I mean? It's your inner voice that thinks of the joke
Yeah.
silently in your head when you see a situation. You know what I mean? When
Yeah.
you see a kid fall off of a pram,
Yeah.
it's your inner voice that makes the joke about whatever.
Yeah.
So the closer the performer is to the inner voice, the
Yeah.
best version of that comedian comes out.
But what's weird about that is it takes so long to get there.
Yeah.
Like, cause like when you start, I mean, you've only been doing comedy for like 3 years now.
Yeah, 3.5.
That's crazy. Like, that genuinely is, considering like everything you've achieved. How much do you think you've like changed since you started? Like, when you started, who were you on stage compared to now?
Oh my God, so much. I don't know, you can disagree with me, but I think I'm higher energy now.
Yes,
than
definitely.
When I used to be, because I'm like a bit more confident, so I'm not shrinking back from the audience so much. I used to rely on like very sarcastic, laid back, like that was, because I didn't,
Yeah,
that
seeing,
felt
seeing in
like,
Cape Town, like that got that kind of vibe from you. And then seeing you with Lindy was quite different. So when you guys did
Yeah.
two women together.
I think I'm a lot more confident now than I was. And I trust myself more, and I don't feel like I need to use tricks to be funny.
Also, I don't know if you guys believe this, but her voice used to be squeakier.
No, I didn't.
It was like literally she would perform and like the dogs in there. Nobody.
Yeah, it did used to be worse. It's gotten marginally better. I think the more I smoke cigarettes, the worse it's gonna get though.
Or the better.
All the better.
All the better, yeah. Might get like husky and sexy. Which,
And cancerous. But it's dope.
yeah,
Like,
it's
trade-offs,
great.
trade-offs, you know?
Yeah, you win some, you lose some.
Another thing, so with writing, because you write your own shows as well.
I do, yes.
This is, so you, but I mean, you write some comedy and you write long form, hour-long plays.
Yes,
And you perform them.
I do.
What's the difference like when you're doing that? Because like when I like scripts are very different to like just sitting down and writing.
Oh yeah. Well, there's like, so when I write, I'm writing a trilogy at the moment of like misrepresented historical or mythological female characters.
Do you want to just say the
So
first?
I started with Medusa, from the Medusa myth, and I did a lot of research. I read like a bunch of the mythology and different versions of mythology. I listened to podcasts. I spent like months doing research. I spent a month or two improvising around the idea and the theme and the kind of
What do you mean by
development of the
that?
character.
Like you would go to your shows and
No. So with my director, I would sit in a room and like get into character and kind of figure out. She'd ask me lots of questions, and I'd answer in character. And the more you do that, the more you kind of figure out who the character is. And then from that, I transcribed all of that, and then it was like total garbage. So like 2 weeks before, no, like literally 2 weeks before, I started writing completely from scratch, and then wrote the whole show in a couple of days.
But like, do you feel like that actually allowed you to produce like something good?
Yeah.
Because I find that pressure helps.
Oh yeah,
Like,
me too.
Like, I've read lots about procrastination and I used to feel bad about it, and now I almost lean into it.
Yeah.
Like, I know, like, if I give, like, I'll do the research leading up to stuff, so I do like a lot of writing as my job, and I'll do the research leading up to it, I'll take notes and everything like that. But I'll invariably start writing the thing like 3 hours before the deadline.
Totally.
And
Well,
I find it works out way better than if I started like writing a few days
I used
before.
to freak out about it, and then one of my therapists once was like, "This is how you work.
Yeah.
So stop trying to not work like this. This
Exactly.
is how you work, and this is what works for you. It's been working up until now. So take away all the anxiety about it and just let that be your process." And I was like, "Oh, okay.
And you found it's helping you a lot.
Yeah, it's helping me so much. Because that is how I work. Like, I wrote a thing the other day, and I was like, 2 days before, I still hadn't written the thing I was performing. And I was like, cool, that's fine. I know this is how I work, so it's okay.
So you need a
I will
process.
write the thing the day before, and on the day. That is when I write it, and it will be fine.
Because it's also writing is a process that's done away from the keyboard a lot as well.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah.
Like whilst you might not be sitting there actually doing the writing, the ideas are like, coming to you, you're thinking
Yeah.
about it a lot, you're sleeping on it, it's like,
I need a long time to think about it, to chat to as many people as possible. So I'm not one of those people who like protects my idea from other people. I chat to as many people as possible about my idea so that it's in everyone's kind of ether of consciousness, and then people will send me stuff and be like, oh my god, I heard this and I thought of this, and then your
like crowdsourcing.
wealth of knowledge that it is like crowdsourcing, just gets richer and wider, and so more and more people can contribute to the thing.
so have you done that a lot in your career?
I'm writing my third full-length play at the moment. My first one we developed a lot through improvisation, and Medusa also through improv, but then I wrote the script. And this one I've started writing the script before I've done any of the devising. for the improv. So, but I'm gonna workshop it and devise it
But is
with the
that-
director.
Is that because of your stand-up now because stand-up you write like in general you'll go, okay, let me write those jokes and
I
stuff.
guess. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I rarely write stand-up by speaking. I don't really sit and write. I just like say stuff and then it's funny and then I'm like, cool, I'll write that down. I
I
found
bet
that
that's so rarely. Like I have to sit and think about it. Like I'm a writer, Like
Yeah.
I can say funny stuff off the cuff every now and again, but I know my funny comes from me actually thinking about it. I'm just trying to find incongruencies. Just trying to like think about, But it's also I'm in a place now where I'm trying to find topics that I want to talk about, and so I'll do research on them, and then I'll, see what's funny about
Yeah.
these things. Sure.
I've never been successful at that. I mean, I'd like to do that, but it's never really worked for me.
Yeah, I would like to do it. I feel
No,
like I might
because
be a
it's
little-
reliant on randomness and chance. So I don't have a consistent writing process. So I've gone like months now without new material because I just haven't said a fucking funny thing in ages. So that's
Okay, but
something
then,
that's worth repeating.
but then just develop that thing.
Yeah,
like you
it's
can
just
set aside
practice,
like
it's
an hour a week
discipline, I know.
to just sit down and write a joke.
I know, but I'm lazy.
It's an hour, literally. Like just go an hour a week. Start like
I
that.
know, but you know what the problem is? I get
insecurity.
so upset with myself. Yeah, it's insecurities. I get so upset with myself when I don't produce something of value.
Not everything you produce is going to be of value.
I
That's the
know,
thing. You
but I
just need to
hate
keep
that.
doing
Don't
it.
you hate that? I hate that.
I've learned to accept it.
I have not.
Like that's kind of the whole thing of this podcast. Like one of the things I've heard was perfection is the enemy of good enough.
Yeah.
Like to me that's become like my motto almost. It's like you don't need to be perfect, you just need to do the thing.
That's my constant struggle because I am such a perfectionist. I really have to fight with myself and negotiate with myself to be okay with good enough.
Fair enough. What's your process like, Ryan?
Well, I don't write, so
Yeah.
but
I mean like your working process.
very lackadaisical. I do suffer from ADHD or ADD,
Okay.
like diagnosed suffer from it.
Do you take medication
No, but I do things to try and help.
to help it together? Like
The
meditation?
medication has other effects which I don't like,
Okay.
so I prefer rather just to have the ADD.
But like what sort of stuff do you do? Meditation?
Yeah, I do meditation, guided meditations on my phone apps. There's two
Yeah.
apps that I'm quite reliant on. Exercise helps me, and leaning into the ADD, because the ADD has certain things. One of the main symptoms of adult ADD is that you're good at a lot of things
Yeah.
and you have a lot of very varied interests.
Yeah.
I also have ADD.
Yeah. So
They diagnosed me with it as a teen, but I think they were wrong. Like,
Yeah.
just judging by stuff like...
they would say things that ADD, that blanket people with ADD.
Yeah. Like, I don't feel... Just judging by what I've read about ADHD and stuff,
Yeah.
like, it doesn't seem like that's what I've got. I've definitely got mental issues, and people who listen to this podcast know I'm eventually going to go to a shrink and get diagnosed. But,
Do it.
It's so helpful.
It's very helpful.
yeah. But, so the ADHD, how does it affect your work?
So-
It means you can do lots of different things?
Yeah, but it means that I've never
Focused.
fully concentrated on one item at a time.
So-
And the work suffers for it.
But with that, doesn't that mean just getting partners involved?
It does, but the fucked up thing is that the other thing of ADD is also you do it yourself.
Yes.
That's one of the other
Okay,
symptoms.
maybe I do have ADD.
So we try. I mean, I've learned. I'm not gonna lie. I had a really big project in 2017 that took like more than a year of planning, which for me is ridiculous. You know what I mean? So I started planning in 2016, actually at the end of 2015, and I don't know why, because I never would have made these realizations before. I made a realization early on that I need help with this project, because all projects I do by myself, completely. Whether it's a tour, whether it's a shooting a show, I am the only person who I need to rely upon for that thing.
Is that ADD or also just you don't want things to fail, so you don't want to rely on other people in case they let you down?
Even if they do fail, I want it to be on my back.
Exactly, that's what I mean. Like
Yeah.
you don't want to rely on someone else and then it fucks out.
It's less that, and it's more that I just started doing things by myself.
Yeah.
So my workload just developed differently as I got into comedy. I would do everything myself, and I didn't have anybody to
This is something very
teach me.
relatable to me.
I didn't have anybody to teach me. So, you know, I can conduct a sound check for a show without a comedian being there. I can work most lighting desks and sound mixing boards given a few minutes. You know what I mean? So I've never needed a team. You know, whatever team was at the venue was enough, whether they were enough or not. They were enough. So I developed that work, not even a work ethic, I just developed a work style that was myself.
You'd be great at independent theater.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what, like, this sounds super relatable to me because I've done this as well for like the last decade. Almost everything I've done has been self-contained. But luckily, I've also, like, when I had Durban as yours, I had a cool team of people who did help me, and I realized nowadays, like, just how valuable it was having just one other person there. Like, I had a guy called Stati Koyanis who really kept things together. Like, I was the ideas guy and the, you know, the person leading the thing. But he was really the one getting the stuff done that, like, you know, getting people into shape and doing everything. So, I feel like you might be closer to that stage nowadays, or no?
Yeah, now I'm at the point where, you know, since 2015, where I delegate a lot more easily.
Yeah.
I'm willing to have team members and things like that, and it's been
Does it allow you
it's
to
been
do
good.
more?
It's been good because it's allowed me to do more, and also it's allowed me to create better quality work.
Sure.
Because we're at specialists doing things instead of my jack of all trade brain.
Yeah, because that's the thing. When you know how to do everything, it's cool. You can put on a gig, but you can put on a gig. Like, you can't put on the best gig possible.
Yeah.
Because having people who are good at what they do, doing the things, makes everything better.
Yeah, I still get to exercise my like one-man band stuff sometimes, especially for smaller one-man shows that I'm shooting, where there isn't that big of a budget. So I get to still do that sometimes, but now it's like, okay, there's a set person, there's sound recorders, and I'm able to manage the process a bit better.
So what do you mean by shooting? Like,
So
so what do you do in terms of shooting?
in terms of recording a stand-up comedy for TV.
So that's one of the things you do a lot of.
One of the things that I do a lot of these days, yeah, is recording stand-up for TV.
How did you get into that? Because I mean, you
when
started out with the gigs and like the different venues.
So I started out with the gigs, and then I started out tour managing. And then one of the acts I got to tour manage early in their touring career was Trevor, and that obviously blew up, and I was very busy with that. And he was a person who was always recording DVDs because he always had material. And I was fortunate enough to be involved in the tour management part of it. But they were shooting, they were recording the shows on tour. So I was there, involved in the process.
So
And I started to learn. I've never been to film school or whatever. And then I started to learn. And then with a partner, we took a leap of faith and started recording shows about 3 years ago. Like investing our own money to record shows.
What made you want to do that?
The current status quo in the industry around specials. I had an odd interaction with a management company who claimed to own a comedian special.
Yeah.
Because they had paid for the shooting.
So
And,
they took ownership of everything.
Yeah, and then I did some more research into the people who were putting stand-up comedy on TV, and I realized none of the comedians were getting a fair deal. None. Doesn't matter how famous you were, or how infamous you were, or how new you were getting screwed by the TV deals. And I found a partner who was willing not to screw comedians and be as fair as possible and still make money for ourselves. And we started working on that process. So it was definitely, I started shooting non-Trevor related material out of anger.
Because there was a period in time where there was proper gatekeeping in South African comedy. And I feel like yours was almost like a response to that.
I never, you know, the thing is, there was the word gatekeeper entered the lexicon of comedy through Sami Arif.
And I've known about gatekeeping.
No, gatekeeping is a thing.
Yeah.
But I'm saying in the way we speak about it so often, it was through Simi. I never thought about it until then. But I had done my first batch of specials before then.
Okay.
So I've never thought about it as gatekeeping. I think.
Do you get accused of that at all? Like as the person now who's like, you know.
I don't know. I'm still not sure. I mean, Simi and I are good friends.
Yeah.
We share.
Don't worry, he doesn't listen to this podcast.
And no, I don't care if he does. And I'm never.
Hurts me a little bit.
The only person who maybe ever called me a gatekeeper may have been Sami, because I don't know who he was referring to in his message. It could have been me. I don't know.
Oh, I know who he is.
Yeah, I mean, we know generally who he's speaking about, but I was like, am I included? But I never gave much thought to it because I know that. I know in my heart of hearts, most of the things I've done in comedy, I will still do even if there wasn't a paycheck attached. And that tells me something a bit about myself.
Sure. So like, obviously people are going to be cynical about yourself.
Yeah, but I don't care. I'll be honest with you, I don't care. It's not that I don't care enough that it's just like, oh, water off a duck's back, or, you know, it's like...
You know what you're doing.
I believe that comedy is one of the last, like, meritocracies.
Yes.
In a way. No, I'll tell you why. Especially stand-up, as a comedian, as a producer is different. But I promise you, in comedy, 8 times out of 10, as a comedian, you will get what you put in. Also,
Unless you're
unless you're in Durban. Funny, sometimes there are extenuating circumstances, but there's very, very few funny, talented, hardworking comedians who don't know it.
Yeah.
There's very few, because you can't fake the laughter.
Yeah, exactly.
The laughter is an involuntary response by the audience. They don't know it's going to happen. If you're consistently getting laughter and you work hard and you treat the people, you treat the industry properly, and you practice, and you do your gigs, you will make something of yourself. Sometimes your scenario means, like if you're a comedian in Kimberley,
It's going to be a bit harder.
yes, you're going to get what you deserve. You'll be the most famous comedian in Kimberley.
Yes.
But maybe that's not, you know, it's
Well,
not
it's
relative.
like
It's all relative.
Your 10,000 hours takes 10,000 hours, and you can control how quickly that happens depending on where you are, influences that.
Yeah. I guess that's why people move up to Joburg, so that, you know, they can...
More comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, you did that fairly recently.
I did do that, and then I moved back.
Why did you move to Joburg, or why did you move back home to Cape Town?
I was sick of Cape Town, and I thought Joburg was going to be this like mecca of money and gigs.
I mean, it is a mecca of gigs in
Well,
comparison.
yeah, but when I got here, like a bunch of gigs shut down.
Oh yeah, I've heard about
That
this,
was when like a bunch of stuff shut down, and the industry lost a bunch of big gigs here. And I think I moved up before I was established enough here to be making a consistent amount of, I'm making a consistent amount of money, but it's not enough money to live off. And then I got offered this job in Cape Town that I really wanted to do, and so I moved back there.
What job?
Teaching at a high school, which I always was like, I will never fucking teach.
Yeah, high school sounds terrific.
Teenagers turn out to be amazing.
Really?
They're so cool, they're
Because-
so smart, they're so open, they're not cynical at all, they're like sincere and genuinely engaged with stuff. They really want to grapple with things, they want to learn. No, I'm like obsessed
That
with
might be
it.
modern day teenagers, because I wasn't teenagers when I was a teenager.
Okay, but this school is a very special school. It's very progressive. The kids don't wear uniform, they call teachers by their first names. They're given respect. It's not demanded from them. So it's like there's a
So
cool
that's a cool
relationship.
environment.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a very cool school.
But so-
Fucking hippies. I'm joking.
No.
But so, I mean, if you hadn't got the job, would you still be in Joburg?
Maybe. I don't know. I miss it now that I'm not there. I miss the scene a lot, and all my, like I was saying to you earlier, all my comedy, like a lot of my comedy friends are in Joburg, or like my close comedy friends.
Yeah.
So I am a little bit lonely.
And uncles.
And uncles, yes.
But the cool thing is now you can almost have that dual citizenship like thing going on.
That's what I would like to have.
where you can like just play in both cities all the time.
Totally. And then like hopefully when I'll move back here if I'm getting enough work to justify moving back here.
But also, like, you've only been doing this for 3.5 years, but you've also had like 3 things filmed. Like,
I filmed 3 things.
so, because you're saying people don't really know you, yeah, how? Like, then how do you get filmed like for TV 3 times if like your career is
Because she's
not
funny.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, no, you know what? I don't think people don't know who I am in the industry.
They don't.
Ryan, I think people in like the audience doesn't know who I am because no one really watches South African TV that much.
Yeah, because that's like even, so has being on Showmax affected your career at all?
Not even a little bit. It's really useful, and when people are being shitty to me about comedy, then I'm like, well, I mean, I am on Showmax, so you know, it's not like I've done nothing. And it's cool because it means if I want to do gigs like overseas or whatever, I have really good quality recorded material to show people, and it makes me look more successful. Than
More
perhaps
experienced.
I am. More experienced and like
But that's kind of a
More
weird,
legitimate.
more, yeah, it like legitimizes me.
That's kind of the weird situation that we have in South Africa at the moment. Is like, yeah, there's multiple comedians who have specials and stuff now, and they're really good. And like, you know, we see comedy, like Ryan sees comedy all the time, you see comedy all the time. So we know comedy in South Africa is good.
Yeah.
But the public doesn't.
Yes.
Like the public only really knows a handful. And like, I mean, how did you feel like when you were being recorded? Did you think it was going to make you famous? Did you think, or did you have an understanding that like that's the way things are here?
I think the very first one I did think would make some difference because I hadn't done it before, and it just felt like such a big step. And I was like the least experienced on that lineup by quite a big margin.
Which gig was it?
It was Laugh at First Sight.
Oh, that's with Dave Levinson.
Yeah, Dave Levinson, Nina Hasty, and Lagola Gola. So
You're
I
all
was,
great. So.
yeah, so I was like the baby of that lineup.
How did you get on that lineup? That's really cool.
I know someone who works at that company, and she really liked my comedy.
Okay. And so you were there like open acts essentially like for that.
Because you're part of the lineup.
No, it's
all
part
at
of
the
the
same
lineup.
time.
No, I mean like in terms of like the youngest person, the
Yes,
newest.
yeah.
Not open as in like, you know, you just
Opening,
yeah.
I got paid the same as everyone. Okay?
But
You think.
like
Yeah, probably not.
I mean like the showcase spots almost like, hey, you don't know this person.
Yes, well, like, yeah, we're giving someone new a chance and like spotlighting a new person. Yeah, and that was really cool. And I did 30 minutes of stand-up, which was like amazing.
Like in how many years in was that?
2 years.
So the acting had to have helped with that.
Oh, totally. Acting helped me not be. Okay, look, I mean, I was absolutely terrified on stage when I started stand-up, but I didn't look like I was terrified, and that's how acting helped me. Everyone always is like, oh my god, you're so confident and comfortable on stage, and I was like, I actually just had a panic attack, which happened once, but it wasn't visible. So I think that's how it helped me, and it's also that like I'm not scared of a stage and an audience because I'm used to a stage and an audience, so that isn't what I'm scared of.
But it's very different in terms of the reactions.
Yes, but I'm used to being on stage, so it's a little bit easy. It's not like I've never been on stage before.
Yeah.
But I've seen that with lots of people who've tried comedy who came from
Acting.
drama or from radio backgrounds. I've seen people sound really polished. Comedy is horrible.
Yeah.
You're not laughing. They sound really polished because comedy is writing and performance.
Yes.
So if you come from that world of radio or MCing, lots of MC work, TV presenter work, drama,
You've got the interaction.
you've got the performance.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're used to performing or writing scripts or whatever. But the jokes and crowd work, that's where you fall.
Yeah, and
short.
the connection with the audience is different.
Yes.
The relationship with the audience is different to theatre. And in theatre, I mean, like sometimes if you're doing a drama, you get literally no response from the audience for an hour.
Yes.
Which I find really difficult. So I recently did, the new show that I'm writing is a drama, and I've only written comedy so far. And so I performed a little bit of it at this like experimental theatre night where you share like an exit reel work. And there were like 2 laughs, because there's like 2 jokes in it, but the rest of it is like really serious, and it felt awful. I had no gauge of what they were feeling, if they liked it or not. I felt like I was letting them down because I wasn't making them laugh. It was like, really weird.
And that's you're only having those feelings because of stand-up.
Yeah, totally, because that's what
Your
I'm
other
used to.
stories are also comedy based, right?
Yeah, Medusa's a comedy, Jack and Jill's a comedy. I like writing comedy, but this needs to be a drama because that's just the nature of the story.
And at least you've got that avenue though as well, so you can with so many comedians unfortunately only do comedy.
Yes.
And so you're trying to find ways to make all these things that you care about funny.
Yes, which
Whereas
is
you can do the opposite.
sometimes you don't need to do that. Sometimes it mustn't be funny, and it's also like it makes me a better artist to write comedy and drama and explore those facets of my performance and perform in a different way. That's what I'm bored by one thing, so I need to do. That's that ADD thing. I have to do lots and lots of different things in the same field to make me feel satisfied. Yeah, so that's part of it.
Damn. So which other stuff have you filmed?
I filmed Love First Sight, I filmed Funny People Africa, a 10-minute set, and we just filmed The Coolest Show Ever, which is coming to Mnet, which was so Lindy Johnson and I started First Pop, this collective, a year ago maybe, and we do a solo show, we do a show together, and we started doing these all-women comedy nights, and we just filmed one of those with Ryan. For Mnet, which is it's like honestly the best set I've ever filmed. It was like amazing. It was such a great night. It was perfect. It couldn't have been better.
The Rapture Room gig looks pretty dope. But for filming stuff like that, because it's a smaller room, smaller stuff compared to theatre, what's going on?
I like filming in non-traditional spaces. Just because it keeps it interesting for me. You know.
Yeah. So it's a new challenge each time.
New challenge each time. I think also because of Netflix. The way stand-up is shot is becoming a bit different.
Although I think Doug Stanhope kind of led that charge. He used to I don't know if you've seen some of his specials. They're like literally in bars on shitty cameras with average sound, and it's like it suits his vibe completely.
Yeah.
Like also Burning the Bridge to Norway, like that one also. It's just he just hires like a warehouse in Norway, like chairs. Max camera done, like it's amazing.
Yeah, I think when I was talking about Netflix, I didn't mean necessarily from a venue perspective.
Yeah.
But what Netflix has done is they've simplified the shooting of stand-up.
It's not all just big theaters at that
Yeah. So there's some like Kevin Hart and Cat Williams Netflix specials, which are a reflection of them.
Yeah.
So it's like over the top, like they are in their comedy and personalities. But what Netflix has also done has simplified stand-up. To the point at which almost all Netflix specials don't have any audio reactions in.
Yeah.
Most don't. Most don't stay clear from that main shot, which is like a mid shot, which is like from comedian's waist to the comedian's head. 80% of the special is that, and I'm grateful to them for that because that's the way I see stand-up. Stand-up lives in that shot or in that space where you can see facial expressions and movement of the body at the same time, and. So they've allowed me to sell weird ideas to the local TV stations in South Africa.
So the local stations come on board more now because of Netflix.
Yeah, so before they would only want like 1,000-seater venue with like a big gym with like aerial shots and stuff like that. And
which is still nice. Like,
if the comedy if it makes sense for that comedian, for that show, yes. Definitely we'll do it. You know, when we did Trevor Noah at the Dome, it was 13,500 people. We couldn't just do this.
Yeah.
We couldn't shoot it like it was shot in a bar.
Yeah.
We had to shoot the occasion.
But I'd love to see a Trevor like Bird Revelation kind of show. Like,
You know what's weird is I don't know. I mean, I haven't spoken to him about it. But like I've seen him do the 30-seaters and I've seen him do the 13,000-seaters. I think his comedy is evolving into arena comedy.
Now,
Yeah, you can't.
I've seen him in small venues and he kills.
Yeah. So he used to hate venues bigger than 400. Like he was like.
That sounds so silly for him now. Like,
but this is also the point at which where he could sell out a 2,000 seater.
Yeah,
it's not like he wasn't.
Doing this more.
He'd rather do 5 nights at a 400 than 1 night at a 2,000 seater.
Yeah.
Even though it was impractical, more expensive, for all other reasons you shouldn't be doing it. He would love like a 400 seater because it's intimate. He could see all the people. He could do mic techniques that you can't do in an arena. In an arena, you're just shouting into a mic.
Yeah.
There's no Rina with enough sound and nuance, and
That's
he
why
loves
it suits
mic
Chris
technique.
Rock, like,
Yeah,
perfectly.
he loves mic technique. So he's really good at making sounds with his
Yeah.
mic. And but I've seen him over the years, and I don't think it's been anything other than natural evolution.
Yeah.
That his comedy now is more suited to arenas than it is to theatres.
Yeah.
And I think if we have to take him like straight from arenas and put him back into a 400-seater for a week, he'd get it pretty quickly. But the first 2 nights he'd be like performing like with crazy by moving my hands, like performing because people are looking at you on a screen instead of looking at you.
Yeah.
So, well, anyway, Netflix has allowed us to sell more interesting spaces in the way we shoot comedy. So we've shot shows in conference centers. We've shot shows on tennis courts. We're shooting shows on a rooftop. Skulk's last special, which is going to get released in December, shot on a tennis court.
That's dope, and that's
In the and we put out the chairs and the lights. There's nothing on a tennis court. So it's a full-on production experience. The audience all had to dress full whites of Wimbledon. So visually, it's very interesting. I don't know if it's good yet. Like I enjoy it, and everybody who's involved with it enjoyed it. But until the public see it, I'm not sure if the public are ready for it because it does look a bit.
different.
Yeah, it looks way different to stand up.
Yeah.
Skunk's been doing a lot of different stuff in general, from his acting to his comedy. I think he's got the trust of his audience.
To his clothes, yeah. You know what I realized? Like when I first met Skulk was saying no, it's a comedian from Joburg.
Is he from Joburg?
He's from Joburg, yeah. You only studied in Cape Town.
I thought he's got a very Cape Town energy. Like,
Yeah. And he's from a place called Kempton Park, which is
I know
like,
Kempton.
yeah, it's like pretty,
My mum used to live there
Yeah.
for a little while.
it's like seen a little bit like redneckish.
Yeah, it's like the bluff.
Yeah, a little bit redneckish. And it's like the bluff but Afrikaans.
Yeah.
And I used to think it was a character thing that he was, he was putting on a uniform until I really got to work with him and know him and just really likes ugly shit. Like, and he'll say, oh, this thing's ugly, I love it.
Yes.
He'll say things like that. And he genuinely just likes ugly shit or not traditional aesthetics.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the thing. But it's not a game.
Yeah.
He's in it.
I mean, it does seem a little intentional from the outside.
Yeah,
like-
no, that's how he wants to be seen. That's what he thinks he looks the best in.
Yeah.
You see him in a crazy outfit, he's like, this is the best outfit I
Yes.
could have put today.
But it's true. He does look the best in that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it suits him.
Like
It's-
I would hate to see Skulk in like chinos
And a t-shirt.
and like a blue shirt,
Oh, horrible.
like a blue.
Although you know that he's going to do that one day. Like, just
Yeah, when everybody's wearing crazy jerseys,
Yeah.
he's gonna be like black shirt, white t-shirt kind of guy.
Yeah.
One of the things, like, so Kate and I were talking about is the fact that, like, her being on TV hasn't necessarily affected her, career that much. How does that make you feel, like, as someone who's shooting all these things, who's trying to get comedians on? Like, where do you see this going? Because, like, obviously the filming stuff's important to get stuff out there, and for comedians and for the different stations, but it does feel like South Africa isn't necessarily on board with it yet, like, as an audience.
I am under no illusions that South Africa is a poverty-stricken country.
Yeah.
I'm the board member of a charity foundation, and in our research for the foundation, there was one metric. There's one saying in one of these research papers that we have to buy. You buy these research documents that other people do, like on education or this is on education. And the line, and it stuck with me, was that half of all South African households, it was actually more than half, but it was like 50-something%, but half of all South African households are single, black, female-led households with an income of less than 5,000 rand a month.
Sure.
So I can't change that by myself, but I can't. So what I'm saying is I have to make comedy for the people who have access to it.
Yeah.
That's the only people I can make comedy for,
Yeah.
Which unfortunately isn't those people.
which is not those people. Even us three sitting around this table here in this
We're-
fancy coffee shop at the Killarney Country Club, we are not South Africa.
Yeah.
Even if the scenario changed and it was 3 black people sitting here, we are still not South Africa.
Yeah, because of just being able to be in this place.
Just to be here, yeah. And so what I do is I put comedy on platforms where people can see it, and I think as well, no offense to any other producers out there or people who make comedy, I don't think we give enough thought to the final product.
Sure.
Getting it on TV and making money is more important than what is displayed and what the comedians go through. Every show that I shoot, I want the comedians to have fun. I want them to have done that show, irrespective of whether we were recording it or not. I know many of the specials that are on TV, the ensemble specials, if there was no money, the comedians wouldn't do it.
Really? Like,
Yeah.
so that's
Depending which comedians also.
sure, but that's so strange to me because like, so I was even telling Kate earlier, the reason why like I haven't even really wanted to record anything was because when I do record stuff, I want it to be great. Like I want people to watch it and go, holy shit, that's
Yeah.
good. Like I wouldn't even care if I was getting paid as long as the show was good, you know,
Yeah.
and like could come out there. So that sounds so strange.
But
to me.
that's the first time. And that's your own one-man show.
Yeah.
You're doing it in somebody else's ensemble.
But some
And,
people are gonna watch me do it, so then I want them to see me doing the best thing I
But
can do.
maybe I misrepresented what I was saying. Is the comedians don't enjoy the procedure
Okay.
Yes.
because their comedy gets hacked.
Oh.
Their comedy gets chopped down.
So it's no longer
They-
representing them.
The people who make the shows don't understand comedy. So what ends up happening
You
is the
have to-
comedians are doing ridiculous amounts of sound checks and interviews and stage, and like it's training.
It's taking away from
It's
everything.
training from comedy. So whenever I shoot a show, and maybe you've done 2 ensembles, one with me and
Yeah.
one with somebody else.
3.
3. I won't ask here because you already said who the other ensemble was, but
Yeah.
I'd like to think that the shows that I do are more fun for the comedians than other shows. Do you understand what I mean?
Of course.
And that I treat them with respect, both as artists and financially, because I think I pay more for those types of shows than anybody else does. And I also believe in delivering a product to TV that's true to the comedian. I don't think that is even on people's minds when they shoot comedy.
No, because
The payment is on their minds.
there's that, and also like I think a lot of people who aren't in comedy necessarily would be trying to appease the audience more than the comedians. You know, like the comedian's vision.
Yeah.
Like they would be chopping up jokes because they'll go, people aren't like this, or this type of demographic won't like that, or whatever. Whereas maybe you, as someone who loves comedy, can get that. Even if this won't hit the biggest demographic, that's good for what that person's trying to do.
Yeah, that's the show. That's when I shoot a one man. We try, if our budget or the comedian's budget allows, to shoot more than one of the performances in a
Yes.
run. This gives us the best
Stuff
show
to
to
edit,
choose
yeah.
from. But we then just generally don't edit. We'll choose one of the shows, and that's the show. And I'm always like, that's the show. There were some quiet parts, but that was the show.
But that's
Yeah.
important.
Because you're taking them through a serious moment.
Exactly.
You're
Like
not gonna have a laugh track on a serious moment.
Exactly, and I love that. Like one of Daniel Tosh's specials, he's got like this one bit that he just goes deeper and deeper and deeper into it. So literally only one person laughs, like, and it's a big laugh. And he points it out, and it's just like, you know, that moment really happened, and there was a real thing. Like
Yeah.
I love when stuff like that is in a show. That's why like Dave Chappelle's Bird Revelation, I absolutely loved. I don't like a lot of his other stuff he's released lately. What I loved about it was that it's a moment, you know, it's a show that
Yeah.
isn't repeatable, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's what I personally like.
One of those you had to be there shows.
Yes.
And thankfully there were cameras and
Yeah,
stuff.
okay, thankfully there were cameras.
So that's what I enjoy more and more of these days. is,
Yeah.
like those kind of shows and stuff.
I like an intimate room where you can feel the relationship the comedian has with the audience. But I also like that as a comedian. I like that relationship.
But also as a comedian, are you looking to do the 10,000 seaters and stuff? Because like personally, I'm not. I don't ever want that. It's not a goal in my mind.
My goal as a comedian in my life is to play as many different rooms and as many different places as is humanly possible. The thing I like about comedy is how it's different every time and the spaces are different every time, and you play to 6 people one night and then the next night to 1,000.
And you have to tell the same jokes but do them differently.
Oh, it's just like the amount of technicality that's involved. I just like I'm obsessed with that. I find it so fascinating, and that like constantly I'm learning and growing. Yeah, it's so dynamic. I can't get bored with it because I get bored quite easily. So I did my first 1,000-seater earlier this year, and it was like amazing. But I also did maybe the Raptor Room show was to like 60 people, and that was totally amazing in a different way. I like all of those things.
But I just mean like in terms of goals, because most comedians have that thing of I want to be on Kevin Hart's level. I want to be.
If I'm making enough money and being able to tour and go around the world and having any people come to my shows and surviving and like living a nice life, then I'll be happy.
Do you want to be famous?
If that's what allows me to do those things.
Okay, so like fame as a tool more than as a goal. Okay, cool.
Fame's always like a byproduct. Sometimes you can't choose it.
But it's also like some people are in this to get famous.
Yes.
Like, and obviously the comedy's not that good. Whereas, I find the best comedians are the ones who get famous as a byproduct. It's just they naturally get there because they're good, and everyone's going, holy shit, that person's good. Whereas, there's also the strategy part of it. Like, there's been actors in, South African comedy, like who, use comedy almost as a vehicle to get known.
Yes.
Like,
that happens a lot in the UK and in Australia. In Australia, people use comedy to get a radio show.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
People still make a lot of money in radio in Australia, whether it be internet or terrestrial or podcasting. So they go into stand-up to hopefully get famous enough. But then they feel the road to fame is quicker through stand-up to get a radio show. So many comedians in the UK and in Australia especially, it's like radio, podcast culture is really big. And they try to use comedy to get there.
I've tried to do it the other way around.
Yeah.
In America, they try to do it the other way around as well. And I mean, in America, they try to do it as well. So many actors and writers on the comedy scene waiting to get picked up as an actor or writer on a big show. And they just stop doing comedy.
Yeah, no, I got into radio and podcasting to boost my comedy career, essentially, to get myself out there. Because also, interviews are something I know I've been fairly good at through my music writing. It's something I really enjoy. So I figured this was a natural progression of it, and it suits me. Because also, I'm from Durban, so we don't do comedy like the way you guys do comedy. Yeah, definitely not to get famous, but it's also like I don't perform every night. I don't get to perform every night, and I need other projects.
Are they not gigs every night?
What the fuck?
Really?
There's one weekly that Cyril's doing. I used to have a weekly. That was the only weekly. And then there's a monthly with Tommy, and then I think Cam's has his one now, and that's about it. We have got like maybe 10 gigs in a month.
Shit, I would get so itchy.
Yeah, I mean, that's why like my relationship with comedy is a very weird one at the moment. But I feel like, I'm going to just do more comedy here next year than I will in Durban.
Yeah.
And I'm cool with that because also, while I love being on stage and like I agree with people, like, more stage time makes you better and that.
Yes.
I've also realized that you don't actually need to be on stage every night. You, like, personally, like I can just do a run for a week and then chill for the rest of like, the next week or whatever.
Yeah.
But you don't have that, you need to be on stage.
I can't do that. Well, partly because I feel like it makes me better and I get bored if I'm not, but also because my anxiety gets really bad if I'm not on stage a lot. So I have to have bad anxiety, and if I'm not on stage regularly, then my anxiety around comedy gets really, really almost unbearable.
What do you mean? Like, what exactly?
Like, I find I spend my whole day thinking about my gig, or before I go on stage, I'm unbearably anxious and I have to take an anti-anxiety because I feel so anxious and I'm like close to panic attack levels.
Is the anxiety coming from because you haven't been on stage for a while?
Yeah, so that's why for me I have to be on stage.
So you worry about the next gig?
Yes. Yeah, that's why I have to be on stage regularly, because that's the only way I can manage my anxiety around comedy.
And that way you can flush out the bad gigs with another gig.
Yes, and it makes me better and more comfortable, and there's so many benefits to it.
I think there's lots of speaking around comedy. We know this because in our industry,
we
always talk about comedy. But the one thing I always like, not to sound like an uncle again, but I always tell comedians is, yo, this shit that we do is great, but the only place you're a comedian is on stage.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the only place you're a
Totally.
comedian. Yes, this is great for the theory of comedy,
Yeah.
you know, speaking to people, learning from people, but you have to be on stage as much as is physically possible
Yes.
if you want to improve as a comedian.
Well, like, okay, so I want to get my 10,000 hours, and the only thing I can do, I can't control that it's 10,000 hours. Let's say it's 10,000 hours, there's nothing I can do, it's going to be 10,000 hours. All I can control is how quickly that happens. So I can control if I get those 10,000 hours in 10 years or 5 years, and if I'm on stage more often than not, then I'm getting closer to that quicker.
But I get you this. That's what I'm saying. Like, I would like to come up here to 2 shows now for a week.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of thing. I love doing that. But then I can just the next week work on something else. Like, I'm
Okay.
very much like, you know, and then the following week I'd love to do comedy again. But like, it's also, I guess I've had to develop this relationship because of that.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, totally.
if I had to like always want to be on stage, it would be a problem.
And were you writing before stand-up?
Yeah. Like I've been
Professionally?
Around, yeah, I've been
Yeah.
around for a very long time. So
So then, yeah, so you I'm not saying you don't love stand-up, but you've got other passions and loves.
yes, thankfully, like because like I say, from Durban, it's almost impossible to only have comedy as your focus. Like
Yeah.
I don't like other than like Carbon, there's no one that's living off of comedy in Durban. No, like Neil's on
That's
radio.
crazy.
Like Neil's on radio, and that's what's making him his money as well as comedy. I think Jem's probably making money of comedy, but he also owns a lot of stuff, so like that changes things. But it's not just based off of getting on stage and doing it. So that's why, like, I feel like, I mean, if I was up here, it would be a very different situation.
Yes.
Like I would probably want to be at the club every night because it's also there's a culture up here.
Yeah.
You know, and like it's almost like like everyone's itching. Everyone.
And it's a vibe. It's so much fun.
It's definitely a different situation, but it's like you were saying, like I've got many different interests, and like I enjoy being on stage a lot, and comedy is my first love. But at the same time, it's something that like I've had to develop a relationship with that is good for my psyche, and I figure that that's the way to
That's
go.
a big thing for me now. I've recently like tried to loosen the hold that comedy has on me and be like, I can't only think about this and care about this and do this.
You've got to have friends and a life outside of
Yes.
comedy
100%.
because it will consume you.
Yes.
That's how
That's-
intoxicating it is.
Yeah.
That's why I say I need the week on, week off kind of stuff because
Yeah.
it's like I see comedians up here and it's like this is all you do. This is your entire life. You're, like, while that's cool, like for some people it's just not for me. Like I need to go and play magic with my friends and just have a laugh outside.
I've also this year decided to do that a bit more.
Yeah.
Have a life outside of comedy because last year I didn't. Like last year was really hectic in terms of workload, and I quickly realized that I don't really keep in contact with any of my friends who are not in comedy,
Yeah.
like at all. I don't see them, I don't visit them, they don't visit me because I'm always at gigs, whatever. And it's just a healthier way to be.
Yeah.
So
It
I have
is.
multiple interests, multiple gigs. Now, before I would go to 5 to 7 shows a week.
just every
But I
night.
go 2 shows in one night.
Yeah.
And now if I get to 5, it's a lot. It's like 2 or 3. And it's made a huge difference in my personal life, in my mental health, because I was so obsessed in a way with comedy.
Yes.
Only my friends, I had no boundaries with comedy and Ryan.
Oh my god, completely.
There was no boundaries between Ryan's life and comedy life.
Yes.
I would have, no offense to any of the comedians who've done this, but I would literally like just have comedians pitch up at my house during the week. And it was okay for them to do that because I've let them know it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, hey, dude, what's up? Are you around? Yeah, I'm here. Come in, chill. And I didn't mind it at all, but I realized later it was unhealthy.
Yeah.
There had no separation.
There's no boundaries.
There's no boundaries. So like, it's almost like a drug, comedy.
It is like a drug. It's better than drugs. I was so obsessed with comedy last year, and I worked so hard that at the end of the year, I got a headache for 10 days. I literally got a headache for 10 days. I went to hospital for it. I was on like a drip, didn't help. My body just shut the fuck down, and I was like, cool. Okay, I obviously won't do this anymore. So now what I do, one of the things I do to help that is I go to a gig, I get on early, and then I leave. as opposed to like staying there for the whole night.
Quite a few people do that nowadays, and I've also like started to enjoy doing that as much as possible.
Yeah.
But I also think for me, like I was running a gig in Durban, like underground comedy every week, and like managing comedians and stuff like that. And that took a lot of the joy of comedy away from me. Like having to deal with comedians and having to like constantly be putting on a show, and like that's why like I feel like I've got a much healthier relationship with comedy. Like,
Also, the lifestyle of comedy is unhealthy.
It's so
Completely.
The
unhealthy.
physical lifestyle of late nights, drinking
Drinking.
more than you. And also, when I say drinking, I'm not people are not getting fucked every show.
No, but you're having
if
2 or
you're
3
having
beers a night.
3 beers a night,
every night.
5 nights in a week,
That's too much alcohol.
that's a way too much beer or alcohol or whiskey or anything for your body.
And it doesn't seem like it when you're doing it, but like yeah. No.
And lots of comedians who are comedians only are able to readjust their day.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they're waking
So
up
you
at
wake up at
midday.
10.
They're waking up at midday. So they are able to go to bed at 4 a.m. every day because it's a natural cycle.
Yeah.
I can't. I physically, as a personal, I can't sleep late. I've never been able to.
As
I
I've
can't
gotten
sleep more
older,
than I can't sleep more than 6 hours. I've never been able to.
Oh wow.
I can sleep a solid 12 hours if I'm given the
Yes.
chance.
So jealous.
I could literally never.
I literally can't. If I get home at 4 a.m., I will wake up at 10 a.m.
See, I'm getting like this now. Like as I've got, so I used to be someone who could dos till and I used to be a night owl completely.
Yeah.
And I write my best stuff from like 10 o'clock is when I start writing most of the
Totally.
time.
I'm also like that.
Because there's no distraction and everything. So I used to go to bed like 2, 3 o'clock, but now like every day I'm waking up like 8, 9, no matter what, and it's just like it's
Yeah.
killing me. But
So even just taking a step back from the lifestyle made a huge difference for me personally. Can't remember what exactly we were speaking about.
Like the not getting consumed by
Not
comedy is
getting
bad for your
confused.
mental
So
health.
that was like great for me. And I like discovered
Yeah.
new passions in the last year.
And you also almost like appreciate comedy more because you're not constantly thinking about it. So it becomes like more of a novelty than it's just like all you. I noticed when I went to like my mom's meditation retreat thing for 3 days, where as soon as I stopped doing stuff, all I was thinking about was comedy. It was just going round and round and round in my fucking head, just comedy. It was like, and I was like, I need to find a way to shift this.
I have that still like it's constantly something. It's something I'm constantly thinking about, even though I'm not constantly doing it.
Yeah.
But thankfully, like for me, like I've got stuff like Magic the Gathering and
Yes.
music writing, and like Magic has helped me develop good relationships with everything. It's nice to just have this other thing that you do that you can focus on.
Yeah.
And people you do it with.
Yes.
That's why I'm so excited to teach, because it just gives my brain a different place to go to.
Yeah.
And I also feel like your brain atrophies if you're only thinking about the same thing every day. It's
Yeah.
boring. It's bad for you.
I find it difficult to. I found it when I made the change of like having less comedy and more people. I found it difficult to speak to normal people,
Oh
non-comedy
my
people,
god, I know.
because comedians give you so much free reign in terms of making jokes and thoughts
And saying fucked up shit.
and saying fucked up shit. That like I have to be aware that I'm around civilians
Yeah.
when making jokes.
We all do. Like, it's weird how conversations change as soon as like a non-comedian like steps into the circle. Like,
I went through this awful phase of like going to like someone's party or whatever and just finding people who weren't comedians so boring. It's like,
Yeah.
I've gotten over it now, but there was a phase where all I cared about was comedy and I found everyone else boring.
Yeah.
And it was terrible.
yeah, because also comedians like do live relatively exciting and interesting lives.
Yeah.
Oh no, not relatively. Dude, on a Tuesday night, we can watch like a most raucous comedy show and then end up at a bar and like dance and then
Yes.
end up at Andicio's Pizza and then talk. And that's just a Tuesday.
Yeah.
For some people, that's a once in a year.
Yeah.
And that's just our lives. Like,
Yeah.
That's not even like, a big thing. But I mean, like, it's also like comedians also have like interesting histories and stories
Yes.
and like,
Yes.
you know, they come
And
from
thoughts
different.
and opinions.
Yeah.
And
So it's definitely, yeah, I get you. Sometimes, but like I'm actually lucky because my friends are all mostly in the creative scene. They're like all musicians or
Yeah.
artists and stuff. So I'm kind of lucky in that I've always had interesting people around.
yeah, well, the majority of my friends are also creative. I'm not talking about people in the
Like
arts.
you're talking about when
I'm
you go to
talking
like,
about,
a house party,
accountants.
like yeah.
And
Like my wife's friends. Even if they listen to this, they'll know I'm right.
They're not
They
gonna
find me very exciting.
Really?
Yes. which I find weird.
Because
in
out
my-
of us, you're like the boring guy. Like,
Yes, in my world, I'm the boring person. So they're like, on a Wednesday, you came home at what time? 11:30. On a Wednesday.
It is,
So
yeah, you do
funny.
forget, like, when you're in the scene, like, how different real life is. Like,
Yeah, you're like living in a different reality.
Dude, and I'm
almost.
grateful for it.
Yeah,
I'm constantly
I wouldn't
grateful.
choose anything else.
I could never go back to a job.
No.
I used to be working in, like I said earlier, call centers, banks, corporates, small companies, big companies, but it was always like menial tasks.
I feel the exact same way as you, and I earn way, way less money, but, like, I'm just like that. Like, I could never go back to that life. Once you live like this, your days are open, like...
I'm really excited to have a year of routine next year, to be
Really?
honest. I'm really excited to get up at the same time every day, have a timetable, like for a year, not forever, but just for like 1 year to like get my brain
Since you
to
get a lot
not
of
be
material from it.
wild. Yeah, I think so.
Like, that's gonna be fun stuff to talk about.
Because I find like the problem with the instability and the inconsistency of comedy is that if you have a predisposition to mental health issues, it's not very containing.
No, and you are going to, whatever mental health issues you have, you're gonna have them more so.
Yeah, it's like my mental health wasn't in a good place this year, and I just need a year to like stabilize myself, because otherwise I'm gonna have a fucking breakdown.
Fair enough.
I like simply cannot go on more medication. I'm on too much already.
Shit, yeah.
But also, like, teaching's a nice way of having a job.
And it's
Yeah,
performance.
still
Because
performing.
most days it's half a day.
Yeah.
Most days,
You
not
work,
all days.
You work nights. Like,
Yeah, you do some marking and things
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But the physical timetable part of it,
Yeah.
it might be difficult for you because you're going to work nights as well. You're still going to do some stand-up.
Yeah, it's gonna be hectic
No,
because
you gotta
when I was
get up early,
teaching,
like,
I
for teaching.
woke up at 6:30. I go to sleep at like 9. And doing stand-up, you can't do that.
You're gonna be called the opening act in Cape Town.
Yeah.
You're gonna do the first slot at all the gigs.
Everywhere, which is great. It's gonna make me really good at doing the first slot, which is the hardest spot. So that's good for me, even though I hate it.
I love opening. Like,
And you get nice holidays as a teacher.
Yeah, you do get great holidays.
Like you could, if you imagine you just moved to Joburg every holiday.
That's what I'm thinking. But I probably am gonna need a holiday because teaching is exhausting.
what's exhausting about it?
You're like, so imagine doing stand-up, but for 6 hours a day.
And the material's not
Yeah,
your
you're
own.
performing.
Yeah, and you're communicating ideas to a room full of teenagers who you need to keep under control.
It's a lot like stand-up. Actually.
And they have to all get it though, because like when you're doing comedy, like not everyone in the room has to get it.
Yeah.
Like your
You're
job
teaching.
as a teacher
Yeah,
is to
they
literally
all
make
have to
sure
get it.
everyone gets it.
You
And-
can't just like chalk it up to the game.
Yeah.
They didn't get it at school.
and
They will, fam.
Yeah, so which I think teaching is gonna make my stand-up better.
I agree.
I think just stand-up is also gonna make you a better teacher.
Yeah.
Because you
My
understand
favorite
it.
teachers were the performative ones.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a word.
Yes, it is a word.
Okay. Ones. You sure it's a word? Ones?
Once, yes.
The performative ones.
I think we can end there.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
No, on that joke, on that classic Ryan Harduth joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been a great chat, guys, and we will eventually have like one-on-ones, but like this has been fun. Thank you for
Yeah.
this delicious waffle. And
It's a pleasure.
guys, when Ryan says like, "Youre, come to my house, I'm gonna cook for you," take up that offer. There are any other comedians listening to this right now that have never had the pleasure of Ryan cooking for them?
Oh, so good.
Yeah, I just had one of the best breakfasts, like, yeah, for a very long time. So thank you very much for your time.
It's a
Thank
pleasure,
you
dude.
Thanks,
very much
Bob.
for your
This is
time.
fun.
Yeah, this is really great.